Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah Schumann. I'm a commercial fisherman, and I direct the Fishery-Friendly Climate Action Campaign, a bi-coastal U.S.-based network that seeks to develop the climate leadership of the commercial fishing industry. Fishermen, as you know, are on the front lines of climate change. We're also on the front lines of the carbon pollution, 30% of which has been absorbed by the oceans since the start of the Industrial Revolution, causing those ocean waters to become more acidic. And nowadays, we're increasingly on the front lines of many of the solutions that are being put forth to remedy the climate crisis by using what the ocean has to offer, including the topic we're discussing today, ocean alkalinity enhancement. That is why the voices, the knowledge, the values, and the perspectives of fishermen, seafood businesses, fishing families, and fishing communities are so critical to the conversation about how OAE matures. Nope, back. Okay. The tool I want to talk about today is commercial fishermen as partners in OAE research. So earlier we heard from Adam about a project, the Loch Ness Field Trial, where fishermen played a critical role in making the project more fishery sensitive, which is a term that my colleagues and I have coined to describe MCDR and OAE and other forms of MCDR that are more attuned to and more compatible with the objectives of sustainable fish production and harvesting. Adam mentioned that I went along on the field trial as the fishing industry observer, but in addition, the Loch Ness team hosted at least 6 public listening sessions in New England fishing ports and fishery trade shows. They hosted 4 presentations and tabling events at fisheries management meetings, and at least 4 private meetings with leaders in the commercial fishing industry. They also did a podcast appearance with a fishing industry trade group. The input they received through those conversations influenced the timing and the location of the field trial and resulted in the inclusion of additional pre-field trial laboratory testing on zooplankton, as well as the incorporation of Newston net tows during the field trial itself to assess impacts to fish and lobster eggs and larvae. And by having me go along as a fishing industry observer, they showed their commitment to transparency, and they helped me build awareness among the fishing community nationwide through what I published afterwards. But the Loch Ness trial is just the beginning of what it can look like when members of the fishing industry help shape the field of OAE. Within the field research topic that is the subject of this panel, fishing community participation can include establishing a baseline in which fishermen share their ecological knowledge and their understanding of fishing patterns with the research team to help them design a better project and to assess project impacts more accurately. Fishing community participation can also include research co-design, which invites fishermen to play a role in defining research questions, methods, and analyses. Participation can also include cooperative research, which invites fishermen to use their boats and their fishing gear in data collection before, during, and after a field trial. In addition to participating in fact-finding, commercial fishermen need to also be invited to participate in planning and decision-making around field trials. This could include a 2-prong approach that includes, first, broadly informing the fleet to make sure that everyone knows what's going on and who to address their questions to if they have any, as well as formally granting a subset of individuals from the community direct and ongoing roles in shaping a project alongside a project team. And of course, I think it's an excellent idea for all field trials to include a fishing industry observer. But the most important message that I want to make with you today goes beyond field trials. I want to impress upon you that the engagement of fishing-dependent and other coastal communities is just important at the field-wide conversations that establish future research agendas as it is within the local research projects that carry out these agendas through empirical work. And that's why it's so valuable that Carbon to Sea has made it possible for 6 members of the North American commercial fishing industry to be here today. Communities that stand to be affected by OAE need to have a say, not just in local field trials, but in setting research agendas, defining research standards, informing funding commitments, and crafting the public and private governance frameworks that will shape the future of OAE as a whole. In short, fishermen need to be involved in every aspect of OAE. But how do we create structures that enable the engagement and participation of members of the fishing community without taxing and overburdening those communities? How can we ensure that fishing community voices are truly heard and that they carry real weight and influence over research that could have impacts on their lives, not only directly through the field trials themselves, but also indirectly through the commercial scale operations that may eventually be enabled by what these trials unlock? These are the questions that I invite you all to discuss over the next 2 days with the people on the slide, who are also here in this room. And I'd like to ask you all to stand up. We have Lane Johnston, Beth Cassoni, Ginny Boudreau, Antonio Arena, Gord McDonald, and Helen Gurney-Smith from Department of Fisheries and Oceans, who is here to help them navigate this convening along with me. All of us are here for the duration of the convening wearing a blue fishing industry button, like the one shown on this slide, to make it easy for you to identify us and strike up a conversation with us. So we look forward to getting to know you.